You want to look and say, where am I in 5 years? How old are my kids? What am I doing with my spouse? What job do they have? You want to be really clear on what it is that you want. Now, does your business goal align with your personal goal? If in the business goal, you're working all of the time, and in the personal goal, you have all of this time off, guess what? Your goals are taking you in opposite directions. So you want to be able to know, hey, am I moving congruently towards my personal life in the way that I want and my professional life in the way that I want? Can I do what I want to do the way I want to do it? Hello and welcome back to She Rises. My name's Krista Vieira, and I am talking today about the balance of being a mompreneur. So a mom who has 2 little kids, that's my situation, and a business that I run at the same time. So it's interesting because when I was first setting myself up to do this podcast, I asked people, I said, what would you love to have me talk about? And I had more than one person reach out and say, can you talk about the how you balance mom life with work life? Can you talk a little bit about that? And so what I've done today is I've put together kind of a list of things that has helped me over the years. And trust me, I did not have this list when I started doing my businesses. I did not have this list when I became a mom. This came through different experiences that I've had that have helped me to refine essentially how I want to be living my life. As somebody who loves to do the work that I do in the world, I have a home-based yoga studio. I run a coaching business as well. And up until yesterday, I was a registered massage therapist. I still have my license as a massage therapist, but I've finished that chapter of my life. So a little congratulations, a little excited moment there for me. But with all of that said, there have been a lot of moments that have helped to create this list that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And essentially, I didn't know what it was all going to look like, but I had enough of that kind of forethought inside of me to say, if I don't look at where this is going with a little bit of intention, I don't know where I'm going to end up. And I'm not necessarily a person who takes unprecedented risk. I take risks in life that I feel like I can project the outcome for pretty directly. And what that means is there are risks that I'll take that definitely put me outside of my comfort zone, to be sure. I think that's really important, especially as an entrepreneur. You have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. And at the same time, you don't want to run your business like it's a gamble. You want to make sure that you've got enough forethought and enough planned in place to help set you up for success. With all that said, being a mom and having other responsibilities, taking care of a household, all of that, there's a lot of different hats that you have to wear. And so I was fortunate that I had my children before I started my businesses. So I was already a mom and I kind of knew what I wanted. I had a really powerful conversation before I started my business. I was planning on it. I had it in the cards, and I was working as a registered massage therapist for a local physiotherapy and massage clinic. And I remember going in there, and I was there for an appointment, and I was talking with one of the owners who I have a lot of respect for. Shout out to Dr. J. And I remember asking her, and I said, how do you balance, your full caseload with, and like all of your clients and running a business? At that time, they have 2 locations. I said, how do you balance that with the needs of the business? And she said something that I'll never forget. She said, if your family is your priority, then you need to act like it. And she went on to explain that, if you say that family is a priority, then how are you showing up that way? What actions are you taking that are putting them first and foremost in your life rather than, putting the business first? So in my own experience, I could say, there's an opportunity. If I wanted to, I could work every single evening. Like, there's more than enough work to be done in the business. And for any entrepreneurs out there, when you have your own business, The clock stops when you decide it stops. Like that, it doesn't stop 1 second before that, because there's always something to do. You could always do more social media. You could always do more advertising. You could sit down and plan out the next quarter's campaigns or next week's if you haven't gotten that far yet. There will never not be something to do. So you have to have that perspective in your mind as to what is really the priority. What is that going to be? So just starting from the top here, very first thing is boundaries create balance. And one of my yoga teachers, Debbie, actually said that to me one time. She said, boundaries create balance. And I loved that. When I heard it, I instantly knew that it was true, because if you do not know what your edge is or what your line is, if you don't know how much time on your business today is enough, if you don't have set work hours, if you don't have any parameters for how you're going to operate within your business, then you very well could be working from 6 o'clock in the morning until midnight and trying to squeeze in mom life, family life, personal life, in and amongst all of that with zero balance. That is a ticket to burnout, my friends. Very, very quick burnout. So without balance and without the boundaries to help you create that balance, you will often find yourself overextending yourself. So you might shortchange yourself on what you're fueling your body with. You might shortchange it on sleep. You might simply be operating with higher levels of stress in your body, which, as we all know, stress is the new smoking. So this is not something that you necessarily want to perpetuate. And when I sit down and I look at business, I'm very, I like to approach it with the idea in my mind of what makes the most sense over the long term. So if what you're doing in your business right now isn't going to set you up for 5 years from now, it's probably not in your best interest. And it's not going to be sustainable, essentially, is what I'm saying. It's something that isn't going to help you to carry your business forward or to achieve the goals that you have. So this is an invitation. If you are a business owner, if you're considering growing a personal business, I work a lot with yoga teachers and people in the wellness industry, massage therapists, studio owners, that type of thing. If that's something that you're struggling with right now, just really take a moment to maybe take some notes with this podcast too, because there's going to be a lot of information in here that might help you just take a step back and reframe some of the things that you have going forward. So with your boundaries, just notice, do I have set work hours that I've set for myself? Have I hired out tasks that are draining my time and my energy and keeping me from doing the things that only I can do in the business? So at the end of the day, there are things that you can do and there's things that you can hire other people to do. If you try and do everything, for those people out there who really feel like, I do it best, I want to keep doing it, I want to be successful, and nobody does it as good as me, all of that. At the end of the day, if you try and do everything, you will fail. You need to have a team of support around you, whether that's one person that you can give some tasks to, whether it's having a few people. At the yoga studio that I have multiple yoga teachers, all of whom who pitch in different ways to help the studio run seamlessly. And without that, then it would take a lot more of my time and a lot more of my workload. I wouldn't be able to do all of the other things that I get to enjoy. So really figure out for yourself, what boundaries could I have in place that I don't? I know a lot of people who also phone calls go right to their personal phone. They don't have a separate line for their business than they do for their regular phone. If that's you, that's something to switch right now. What's the access that people have to you? What access do clients have to you? Do you check emails at 11 o'clock at night, or do you save that for tomorrow morning so that you're getting good rested time in the evening with your family? So really just figuring out, what do I want my personal life to look like once I'm clocking out of my business? And I know that every nature of business is different. There are some businesses that operate overnight, like if you're a snow clearing company or something like that, you might have to work over different hours than the rest of us. But there's going to be things that are normalized in your business, and just giving yourself that permission to say, what really works for me in my business that is continuing to offer high value to my clients, that's continuing to serve my customers well, and that's helping my business run really effectively. We all are going to have different things. So making sure that you know what that is. You have got to set boundaries for yourself so that you get your recharge time, so that you're getting adequate sleep, so that you're not eating junk food. And by that, I just mean fueling yourself with things that are fast and easy and maybe heavily processed, and not getting adequate nutrition into your body. And so that your stress levels can come down. Because when you're stressed, you're not operating at your peak. You're not anywhere close to your peak. You're in survival mode, which means that you're doing anything that you can to help everything move forward. And that's not necessarily moving strategically. It's not necessarily moving with intention. It's moving in reaction mode. So coming out of reaction mode and saying, how can I create this framework for myself so that it feels good? So moving on from boundaries, looking at it, what does it look like 5 years from now? What does my business look like 5 years from now? And the reason that this is really important is because if you don't know where you want the business to end up, if you haven't sat down at the conception, when you sit down to create a business, or you're planning out to, maybe you're a yoga teacher who wants to teach yoga online, very simply. Maybe you're somebody who's starting a company that's going to have a brick and mortar space and you want to grow into 5 locations 5 years from now. If you start your business and then after the fact say, oh, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? How's this going to look? You might not have set yourself up for the best trajectory or for the best success. So you really want to look at, what's the vision of this business? Who am I serving 5 years from now? In what ways are we offering service to them? So what are the products that we're delivering to them? What are the services that we're delivering to them? How do we get that to them? How many people are doing that work? What are the jobs that are there? What is the hierarchy within the business? How much work am I doing? How does that all fall into place? If you know where you want to see your business in 5 years, then you have something to aim for, and you will likely set up your business quite differently. Years and years ago, I was building a house, not the house that I'm in right now, different house. And I read a book, and it was basically a book about how to build a small home. And it said, make sure that you know what every single room in the house is going to be for. Don't just build arbitrary rooms in your house. Know the function of them. Know what's going to go into those rooms. What is the purpose of them? Why are they important? And when you look at a business, it's the same kind of idea. If you know, okay, well, in the future, I'd like to have these main 3 revenue streams. These are going to be super important for my business. These are going to serve my clients in XYZ ways. These are going to be the ways that we lead generate to it. This is how we're going to attract people in. This is how we're going to market to them. This is how we're going to nurture them. This is how we're going to serve them. This is how we're going to support them. And this is how the business as a result is going to grow. That helps to lead you towards your vision, your business. What's the revenue goal? And this is like such a simple one, but often overlooked depending on what industry you're in. What's the revenue goal that you want to meet every month? And I'm not talking about covering off your bills. I mean covering off your profit. What's the goal that you have? And so you have to be willing to look into the future and create a plan that you love, something that really aligns for you, something that you might stretch you, grow you. Maybe right now you don't know how to achieve it, but you have to be willing to look into the future and do a little bit of projection, do a little bit of reverse engineering so that you can figure out where you are right now, how you're going to start, how are you going to approach that? And that is going to set you up so that now you know, okay, well, if I would like to be serving, I don't know, depending on your industry, let's stick with yoga for a minute. If you want to be serving, 300 customers on auto renew, okay, great. So how many people can you fit in your studio? How many classes a week? How many of those classes are you teaching yourself? How many teachers are you going to have on your sub list? How many are they teaching? What are the rates? What kind of membership options are you going to have? What kind of tiers are you going to have for people to come in at? And so you really want to break it down and see, does the number that I have in my mind, revenue-wise, meet the projection of how many people I can actually serve using this model? Because if you don't have a model that's going to serve the people in the way that you want, if it doesn't have the capacity to bring in that amount of income, then you need to look at your offers. And so this is where, you might be looking at not just, yoga class offers, but maybe you're looking at higher ticket offers, different tiers that you're going to start to bring people in at. And apply this to your business in whatever case it is. So while you're doing that, make sure that you know what your personal life looks like 5 years from now. What's the time that you're spending with your family? Do you get weekends off or any days off? What happens if you want to take a trip? Who's covering off the business for you? So many people enter into entrepreneurship, and if you're the key man or key person, you have to have contingency systems in place or options in place so that other people can fill in for you, or how it is that you're going to give yourself the adequate time and rest that you need so that when you are present in the business, you can show up with full energy, serving the people around you. This is really important. And so you want to look and say, where am I in 5 years? How old are my kids? What am I doing with my spouse? What job do they have? Or how are we working together? How am I supporting them? Whatever the situation might be. You want to be really clear on what it is that you want. Now, does your business goal align with your personal goal? If in the business goal, you're working all of the time, and in the personal goal, you have all of this time off, guess what? Your goals are taking you in opposite directions. So you want to be able to know, hey, am I moving congruently towards my personal life in the way that I want and my professional life in the way that I want? Can I do what I want to do the way I want to do it? If you don't project into the future, get a clear vision 5 years from now-ish around where you want to be, then you won't know if you're actually moving in alignment or not. And I have seen so many people start businesses and then get burnt out or get pulled to pieces trying to serve their families and trying to serve their business, and ultimately coming back to that feeling of failure or feeling like I'm not good enough. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm failing at everything in life. And I'll be honest, I felt that too at the beginning in some senses, because there was more work for me to do. We need to be able to take that time and say, what's really serving me? What's really going to serve my family? What really feels aligned? And then go from there to build out the business. Another thing that's really important is to know your principles and your values and to not compromise them. So for example, having policies within your business, having systems in place that support you. If you are not going to take phone calls after 6 o'clock at night and your phone rings and you're sitting for dinner with your family, do not pick up that phone. I don't know how many times I've talked to people and they're like, yes, but it's a client, or it's a this, or it's a that. Your principles and values are what you show up for. It's what you give your time to. It's what you give your attention to. It's what you give your energy to. And so wherever your attention and your energy is flowing, that's what matters the most to you. It doesn't matter what you say. And I'm just being really honest about that, because it's easy to look in the mirror and say, yes, my family is my priority. It's super important to me that at a certain time I'm there with my family. But then you have to follow up with that. You have to show up for that. That has to be in your actions as well. So take it some time, sit down with a piece of paper. What are the principles that I have that I live by? I don't take calls after this time. My principle is that I make sure that when I'm working in my business, these are the things I focus on the most, and when I'm outside of the business and I'm with my family, I have somebody else that I delegate those tasks to, or that time to, and I don't. However it boils down for you. Know your values, put them in order. Is your family near the top of the list? Is one client going to take more value over another, depending on what your industry is and who you're serving? Some jobs might be critical, where it's, time sensitive. Other things might not be. So just know, when am I going to step in, or when am I going to bend that rule if I need to in order to serve the business? Or is it just a non-negotiable across the board for me? Am I just going to put my foot down and have really clear boundaries, clear lines? So the more that you can define for yourself what you're willing and how you're willing to show up for your clients in your business, for yourself, safeguarding your time, who has access to you and when. Distractions, are you going to let distractions get in there? There's something that you've probably heard of, but if not, it's really, really valuable. And it is in Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. and he talks about the 4 quadrants. And if you can imagine for a second, you've got 2 columns on the top, and one of them is important and one of them is not important. And then 2 rows, one of them says urgent, one of them says not urgent. So just to break that down, you're going to have an urgent and important column. You're going to have an important but not urgent. These are boxes rather. You're going to have a not important, not urgent, and you're going to have a not important but urgent, meaning it's important to somebody else and they're bringing it to you. The only quadrant, the only place that Stephen Covey says to spend any of your time is the important, not urgent. Because if you deal with everything there, then things don't become urgent and important. There's very, very few things in life that are urgent and important. At the end of the day, if we avoid the important things, then they become urgent. Then it's like, now I have to do that right away before I do anything else. And that can create this steamrolling effect in your business where now everything's urgent and important and you have no ability to prioritize how you're spending your time, what you're spending your time on. You're being run from the outside in. You want to avoid that in your business at all costs. If you're currently in that state, I would say sit down, write down everything that you need to do, mark down everything that's important and urgent, plan when you're going to get it done or delegate whatever you can off of that list, and then deal with the rest of it. Like there's just not any way, if you're in that steamrolling effect right now, you've got to get it under control. And so sitting down with it, being very clear on it, tackling it, you have to face it. There's no avoiding that if you're in that state in your business. But in general, if you focus on the important things, anything that's not important, whether it's urgent or not, it's the distraction, it's the phone call, it's the thing that doesn't necessarily need your attention right now. If you're working on a high value task within your business and the phone rings, you might have to take that call if your priority and your values in your business is that you answer calls right away and you're the only person to take that call. Maybe there's somebody you can delegate that to. So just starting to look at all of the pieces and how they fit together. Know your principles and values. What are you not willing to compromise on? Because once you know that and you're clear and defined on that, you can spend your time accordingly. You need to know what is worthy of your time in that moment and what is not. And you have to be like a scalpel, like just slice it down the middle, really, really discerning. And as that discernment builds, you start to have more and more confidence in your ability to spend your time wisely in your business. And guess what? Because you're spending your time on important things. So there's another book called 10x is easier than 2x. And that particular book talks a lot about how when you focus on the Pareto principle, that 80% of the things that you do are producing 20% of your results. 20% of the things that you do are producing 80% of your results. This applies in your business and it applies in your personal life. Some things are producing more results than others in ways that are favorable to you in every aspect of your life. It doesn't matter which one it is. But if you were to specifically apply this to business, if you're spending, think about your workday as being, you've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20% adds up to 100. That means 4 of those days is 80%. Imagine not working 4 of those days and only 1 of those days is doing something that's moving the needle 80%. Everything else is at 20%. What that really comes down to is that there is the potential that 80% of what you're doing right now is delegatable. Somebody else could do it because it's producing such a minimal part of your business's results. In fact, if you stop doing it right now, it wouldn't move the needle on your business at all. Now, if you stop doing the 20% that's producing 80% of your results, that's huge. That's really big. Now, imagine that you get really clear on this. Imagine that after this podcast, you sit down and you write down all of the things that are adding to the 20%, all the things that are really helping your business grow, serve your customers better, things that are, your unique zone of genius that you're doing. Imagine that you sat down and you wrote down the 20%. Now imagine that you did that 20% on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday. You just amplified your results massively, because now every single day you're focused on the 20% of things that's producing the hugest amount of results in your business. The 80% you either delegate or do away with. You build your business around the 20%. And then once you grow, the 20% that got you to where you are, that becomes part of the 80% and has to go. Because the next challenges and opportunities in your business are going to require you not to do more of the 20% that's now part of the 80%. It's going to require you to figure out what's the new 20% that's moving the needle on my business. Now apply that to your personal life. What are the things that are the biggest investments in my family time, in my personal time, in my health and well-being, in my feeling of fulfillment inside? This is where you can really start to understand the things that have the biggest weight. Not everything is created equal in your business. Not everything deserves to have the same priority level. So know your priorities. Know what's really important. That's another real big key here. What are you willing to let go of? And so when I say this, it's coming from a few different angles. You won't be able to do everything. You simply won't be able to serve everyone. You won't be able to do all of the ideas that you have. In fact, most entrepreneurs that I know, most creative people that I know, we all suffer from the same thing, which is idea-itis. So you constantly have ideas coming through, creative ideas. And when you are constantly following creative ideas and producing on them, you're not taking one idea, taking it to the end, growing it, maximizing it, fleshing it out all the way. You're starting to dilute yourself between multiple small ideas or big ideas that you can't get any of them off the ground. You can't get traction on any of them. So you really want to learn and understand, for yourself within your business, what are you willing to let go of? If you let go of 5 really great ideas so that you can focus on one, you could take that one idea and it could become the cornerstone of your business. It could become the signature offer. It could become the key convertible conversion offer that you have for your clients. It could be the one thing that sets you apart from everyone else in your industry. But if you try to do everything at once, you are going to find yourself very depleted, very diluted, and your resources will be spread very thin. So just being aware, what are you willing to let go of? You can't carry everything forward. For me, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I just finished doing massage therapy. This is something that I only got into a few years ago. I've only been doing massage therapy for 6-7 years. I thought this would maybe be a lifelong career. And don't get me wrong, I love offering massage therapy. I love helping people with their wellness goals. I love helping people feel better and giving people that connection and that support. It's huge for me. I love all my clients. They're amazing people. Been so honored and privileged to help them this far up until now. And what I can say is that as my businesses were growing, I realized that something had to give. If I was going to do more in any one area of my business, something was going to have to give. I couldn't keep doing everything that I was doing. I had to take something off of the plate. And massage therapy was the one that I chose to release. I wanted to keep the yoga studio. The yoga studio is very important. I value the students who come in, the teachers, the community, the connection. It's just an amazing place. And the coaching community that I've built, the coaching offers that we have support people in such powerful ways that I knew that those two things had to stay. So the one-to-one service that I was offering through massage therapy, that was the only other option. Did I want to let it go? No, there was a big part of me that resisted that. That was a transformation that I didn't necessarily want to go through. But if you want certain things to succeed in your business, if you want things to succeed in your personal life, you have to start looking at what is it costing you to try to do everything. What are the things that you're not willing to compromise on? And I wasn't willing to work the evenings and give up time with my family, work the weekends and give up time with my family and put added pressure on my husband to be with the kids. I wasn't willing to give up that time. So then it was, okay, I have to make a decision. So your ability to make decisions that help you to let go of things that they might be amazing things, good things, wonderful things, but are ultimately not in the future of your business. They served you up until now. They served the business and the clients up until now. But now what? Where do we go from here? How do we go further from that? So know what it is that you're willing to let go of. And this is a really important question. Are you willing to do what's required? So if you are already at the point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, with everything that Krista's talking about, I don't want to sit down after this podcast and write down what my 5-year plan for my business is. That sounds too arduous. That sounds too difficult. Then maybe it isn't for you. I'm just saying that with so much love. Maybe it isn't for you. Because are you willing to do what's required? Are you willing to make the sacrifices that you're going to have to make? Are you willing to put yourself in that role? Are you willing to show up for your business when it really needs you? Are you willing to show up for your clients? Are you willing to take the time to build the systems in your business so that they support your clients at all levels? Are you willing to do the website updates, to hire out to people, to grow a team, to build connection? Are you willing to do what's required so that your business is successful and so that your personal life can still thrive? If you are not willing, then don't start. That would be my advice to you. Don't start. I've seen a lot of people get into business and they have not got a clear idea as to what the business is going to ask for them. So here's another little tidbit of advice. Expect it to be harder than you anticipate right now. Do some research before you sit down. When I started the studio, I had managed 2 yoga studios before that. When I lived in Vancouver many years ago, I managed a studio in downtown Vancouver. And then when I moved to Alberta, shortly after being here, it was like a year or 2 after I was here. Oh, maybe more like 4 years actually now. Oh, time, memory. But within that time, I worked in an administrative role in Edmonton. And so I drove into Edmonton, did that administrative role. I taught 7 classes a week outside of my admin hours. And then I started to manage a yoga studio and I was there for 7 years. I had no illusions when I started my own studio about what would be required. I knew the job because I had done the job already. So if you are looking at getting into a certain industry, if you're looking at growing a YouTube channel for yoga, if you're looking at opening a wellness center, if you're looking at starting a VA business, if you're any kind of business that you might have, expect it to be more challenging than you anticipate, because what you see and what you're going to research is going to give you a pretty good outline. And there's ChatGPT now. You can go and you can say, hey, I'm thinking about starting this business. Can you tell me all of the pros of this business? What are the main challenges that this business faces? What are the things that I should anticipate to come up within my first 1 to 3 years of business? What are the common sacrifices that somebody in this business has to make in order to be successful? What is the likelihood of reaching this income goal within the first 3 years? You get where I'm going with this. There's so many questions that you can ask. And even if you were to just sit down with a piece of paper and write this down and start doing some projections, you would start to get a better idea. Do the thinking required, do the necessary research, look into it, get a really clear picture, and then know that you only have part of the picture. You only have part of the picture at this point. And now you can take that and say, okay, so what does this really look like? When I go into the future and I imagine myself doing this job, I imagine me being in that role, helping people in this way, serving. Do I want that job? Do I want that career? Do I want that business? Do I want that responsibility? And am I willing to carry it for the long term? Because staying power is a huge thing in this business. Being able to stay when things get difficult. What about when crises come up? What about when there's something that only you can handle and it's going to pull you away from your family for a night? Do you have that understanding built into your relationship, or is it going to cause constant pressure? Does your spouse support you? All of those things. Or if you're a solopreneur, if it's just you to think about, if not just a solopreneur, but if it's just you in your relationship, you don't have somebody else that you need to weigh it through. Although we're talking about, being a mom and all that. So, if you are a single mom, there's even more considerations to bring in here. Look at all of the things that will be required. Is it going to push you to a point where you can't handle that? Do you have reliable people that you can bring in as supports within the business? How's it all going to work? Are you willing to do what's required? That's a yes, no question. And a lot of people start businesses saying, yes, I'm willing to do what's required, but they don't actually know what's required. So then they get into the thick of it and they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. But guess what? Now you've got clients depending on you. Now you've got people to serve, you've got timelines, and all of that isn't going away. If you're successful, it's going to keep growing. So really thinking that out ahead of time, and like, what agreements am I willing to make with my business? What agreements am I willing to make with my partner so that I can support our family and so that I can be supported by my family? What agreements are there so that we don't find ourselves getting pushed into pressure or into stress mode or into breakdown mode or into burnout? You know, those are things that we just want to anticipate, that problems will come up in the business. How are we going to handle them? You know, and so this is another thing that you can do, is sit down and say, of this industry that I'm getting into, what are the potential difficulties that are going to come up along the way, or problems that I know within the first year of business I'm going to need to solve? What problems do I need to solve in order to be successful? Thinking this through and actually creating the list. And then your solution. What is the solution to that problem? When it comes up, how am I going to handle it? So for a yoga studio, it's like, you know, somebody needs a class subbed out and there's 1 hour to class. How do I handle that problem? How do I support the students in that? What is my role in that? Or do I have somebody else who's going to take on that role and responsibility? What does that all look like? So every single industry is going to have just really common issues that come up in day-to-day operations and over the long term. And so you want to be forward-thinking. What is that going to look like? How do I address that? And am I willing? Am I willing to address that as it comes up? Assume that it's going to be more work than you think, and assume that it's going to take longer to get to where you want to go than what you've currently anticipated. And that is just real life talking right there. You know, when we were building this house, one of the best things that had ever happened to me is that I built a house before this. And so looking at that, you know, when we started to hit, you know, a little bit of delay, and it was taking a little bit longer, and we had to stretch out the move-in date and all of these things, I was ready for it. I was anticipating it, because I know that when somebody says, yeah, you know, to do the drywall, it's going to take this number of days. Guess what? Like it's going to take maybe twice that many days, maybe, you know, that many days that they said, plus 3 more. You know, I just know that things don't always go according to plan. And so you want to give buffers on times. If your expectation or your timeline for something to happen is a short window, you will get frustrated in business if you're expecting something to happen within like 3 months of starting your business, and now you're at 6 months and you haven't seen that happen yet. So you want to anticipate that things are going to take longer. You want to be able to know what it is that is going to be there for you to do. You want to like have that all clear. And know that it's probably going to be more work than you anticipated at the beginning to build it up. For anybody who's looking at opening a business, and it doesn't really matter if your business is brick and mortar, although you do tend to have way more expenses with something like that, but not always. It depends on what industry you're in. The reality is, as soon as you have the plan, you've got the go ahead, you know that you're going to start your business at some point soon, start advertising, get on social media, put your social channels out, start to build a buzz, get people excited. When you open your doors, you don't want your studio to be empty. You don't want your space to be empty. You don't want no clients coming in the door. You want to set yourself up for as much success as possible. That means you've got to give people quite a bit of time to start to turn their eyes of attention toward you. You've got to let them know the services. You've got to let them know who's serving them. What is the outcome that they can expect? What are the results that they're going to achieve? All of those things. All of those things. So it's going to take longer than you think, and it's going to be more work than you imagine. Put success systems in place. Put success systems in place. So a lot of businesses, when they start out, and by the way, all of this that I'm talking about, there are ways to work towards the goal of having a really solid setup business, not just in a plan, but a strategy that's going to support you, a system for success that's going to support you. I am running an event in April called Elevate Your Business. I highly recommend that you join. It's down below. It is in person at the Holiday Inn in Spruce Grove. And it's a 2-day event. You're going to walk away with so many tools and so much support for your business. So if that appeals to you to get into the room, with a bunch of other women entrepreneurs just like yourself, somebody who, with that information that's going to support you in building out the systems and building out everything that you need so that your business can be successful and you can maintain and set this balance up between your personal and professional lives. Come and join me in person for that. You're going to love it. You don't want to miss it. So back to this, putting systems of success in place. Do you know where your clients are coming from? How are you reaching your clients? How are you attracting your clients into your business? How are you nurturing them? How are you retaining them? And what is your plan to grow them through the business? What offers do you have for them? What's the system in place? What's the system in place? Is any part of it automated, or is all of it falling on your shoulders? Looking at the systems for success that you have. So if you don't know how to get more clients in when you need them, if you don't know how to support the clients that you currently have and build that container community, you might struggle with being able to really keep that longevity going in the business, and also wondering, where's next month's rent coming from? That's not something that you want to be worried about. I've seen a lot of businesses put out offers that don't make any sense based on the service that they're offering, meaning that the offer is super low. And what that does is that when you have a low offer come out there for something that is higher value, it means that somebody is trying to get more people in the door because maybe they've got a cash flow issue. Maybe they're just not aware that that's not a wise thing to do within the business, because it devalues the product. It devalues the product down so that now it's perceived as less when it's actually worth a lot more. And so you want to be really mindful within your business of charging a rate. When you're setting up your rates in your business, when you're setting everything up, it's got to make sense for your profit level, not just for the bare minimum. Not just for, meeting your bills. It has got to make sense for you to actually put food on the table, pay your people, grow your business long-term, all of those things. And a lot of times that's not the consideration. So it's like, how do we get money in quick? How do we get money in quick? Not a place that you want to be operating your business from. What are the systems of success that you have in place that people will look at what it is that you're offering and say, you know what? It doesn't matter what the price is because the value is so high. I want that. I want that thing. Have you ever gone through, just as an example, gone through Amazon and you're looking for all the different things, and you see like Amazon sponsored whatever, and maybe there's only like 10 reviews, 10 5-star reviews. But then you go down, and you find something that's $15 more or $60 more. And it's got, 1,000 reviews and it's like a 4.5 rating. Which one do you probably buy? You buy the one that's got a higher rating that is more expensive, because it's very clear, the market is showing you, is very clear that that particular product is worth its salt. And even though you don't know, you haven't tried them both out, you're looking at it and you're like, everybody wants this one and the ratings are really high. 10 5-star reviews versus 1,000 reviews that equate to 4.5 rating. I want that one. And guess what? You're probably going to buy it and be super satisfied with it. It doesn't matter that it costs you twice as much. It doesn't matter. So you as a person who's putting out your product, as you're putting out your services, you want to be sure that you're not shooting yourself in the foot with that. You want to be sure that you're pricing yourself at a level that's going to allow you to continue serving people, continue serving the offer, continue supporting the community. I always say the community because I have a community, so that's where my mind goes. But this is kind of the thing that you want to think long-term. How does this work? If you do not have a lead generation system, which is a way that you bring people, new clients into your business, if you do not have a marketing framework that helps you to continue to nurture people online, create a presence where people can find out about you, if you do not have systems of support within your business that help serve people as they are for the duration of their time being customers with you, whether that's for 1 month or for 5 years, if you do not have those systems in place, if you do not have a system of when this happens, we do this, then there is a gap in your business in terms of how you're able to serve people, because it's being made up as you go. When you make things up as you go and they don't come into policies and procedures, they don't come into this is how we handle things, this is how it's consistent across the board, then it is arbitrary business. And that gives that feeling of instability, insecurity, Something is like, can I rely on this business? Is it going to be like this all the time? Like, people want consistency. People want reliability. Okay, so this is something that you want to look at. What are the systems I have in my business to handle the crises that come up, that handle the day-to-day operations that come up, that help bring new people into my business? Trust me, when you have all of these systems in place, your business runs like a well-oiled machine. Imagine having think about a car engine. You've got the car engine, so radiator. Oh my gosh, this is a terrible analogy because I'm not very good with cars, but just go along with me for a second here. If you're a car person, I'm very sorry. There's an engine, there's a coolant system, you've got, a belt, fan belt, something in there. Now imagine that, 3 of these components are missing. You don't have the coolant, so the engine overheats when you've been driving too long. You don't have the radiator. I don't even know what that might affect. The fan belt doesn't exist. You don't have brakes on the car. That's a good one. Think about that. How would that vehicle be able to do its function? It has a purpose. Your business serves a purpose. There's a reason that your business is in existence. There's something of value that you are offering the world. There's something that matters. And so if you don't have systems in place, you're going to spend a heck of a lot more time running around. You are going to feel like a chicken with your head cut off because it's going to be every single time something happens in your business, you have to make a decision about what to do, and you're not writing it down and systematizing it. If you don't do that, then what happens is the next time you don't know what it is to do. So for one client, you do one thing, for another client, you do something else. Not a good way to run business. You want consistency. You want to streamline the processes in your business. Everything should make sense. Okay? So the more professional that can get, the more streamlined that is, the more that you have a system in place, then you can check and see, hey, guess what? When we get people into our ecosystem, we're able to support them into converting into clients. We're able to support them as clients. Everything's good. Hey, guess what's not working? The lead generation. That's not working. We're not bringing people in. We're not converting people. Oh, now I know where to focus my energy to nurture the whole system. But if you don't even have a lead generation system, then there's a problem because you won't know that that's the constraint of your business. You won't know that that's the broken piece that needs to get fixed. So there's so much value in being able to have every piece laid out. These are really important things. So have systems and processes in place from start to finish. So think about when your client joins you to when your client leaves you. Okay, if they ever leave you, or maybe you're like, they're with me forever. What is that customer experience like? What is the customer journey that they're going through? You want to think this whole thing through so that you're very, very clear on how it is that you're supporting them at every single stage along the way. And if you have that clarity, if you have all of those systems in place and something is not working in your business, it needs your attention. You've got to sit down with it. You've got to figure out exactly where the problem is. Is it the marketing? Are we not doing enough posting? Are we not touching base with people? Or once we have people in the door, does it feel like we've forgotten about them from their perspective? Where is it that the breakdown is happening? If you have systems and processes in place, you're going to be able to find that breakdown a lot faster. Know your why. And so, this is just so central to the way that I run business, and not everybody has this perspective. There's lots of people who have businesses out there that are very, very successful, and it's not a passion project for them. It's a business that serves a product for people, serves a purpose for people. It's doing a service within the world. It's a necessity type of thing. Maybe it's not their passion, but it's something that they're really good at, really talented at, and it pays the bills and then some, all of that good stuff. Kudos, and I support you in doing that. And maybe your business right now feels like that for you too. Here's the thing. If you know why you're doing this, if you have an emotionalization of why this matters to you, you're going to show up with a different energy for your business every day. Maybe it's, I know why this matters to my clients, and that motivates me. That gives me energy. That gives me this pizzazz that I want to show up into my business with. Maybe you do really, really care about the product or the service that you're offering your clients and how it's supporting them, helping them to live better lives, helping make their lives a fulfilled experience. When you know your why, when you know your reason, this is something that comes back to fill your cup. Because as you serve people through your business, you're being served at the end of the day. So is it essential? No. But if you have it, if you lean into it, if you come up with the reasons why you are doing this business and you feel that movement in your heart, you feel that pull, you're like, there's something really important here. There's something magical happening here. There's something of high value here that I'm serving to people. There's something that's improving the vibration of this community, this planet. There's some reason why I am doing what I am doing. And it gets me out of bed in the morning. You know, I recently ran a Living Intention Lotus with my friend Alethea. And in this particular session, you know, we talked about ikigai, which is a Japanese concept that basically looks at, you know, why do you get up in the morning? They don't ask people, and I don't live in Japan, so I don't know this, but one of the traditions of ikigai is that instead of saying to somebody, you know, like, what do you do? If you're like at a networking situation, instead of saying, you know, what do you do for work? They would say, why do you get up? Why do you get up? You know, why do you get up in the morning? What is it that motivates you to get up out of bed? Well, most of us, many of us are getting up out of bed and we're going to work. We're going to our job. We're going to our business. We're going to our clients. And if we dread that, if we are not excited about that, if we are feeling that pulling us down, we have less energy for our loved ones. We have less personal motivation, and we feel our energy being depleted before our day's even begun. But we still got to do it anyway. We spend a third of our lives serving people through different businesses, through the different jobs that we have. You have the potential to, without even changing your job right now, change the energy that you do your job with. What if nothing outside of you right now needs to change, but when you shift your energy, when you shift how you show up, when you show up caring, really excited about the people who are in front of you, the service you're going to offer today, the experience people are going to have as a result of how you are showing up, wow, that can make a difference. So notice your energy when you're getting out of bed, getting ready to go to work. Are you feeling your tank already going on empty? Or are you feeling to yourself, I know my purpose, I know my reason, I know my why? And if you are currently a person who's, you know, not in business right now, or you're just looking at, you know, the job that you go to, maybe you work for somebody else, I invite you to ask the same question. What is my why? Even if the culture at your current workplace isn't really that exciting, or there's maybe people that don't align with you and all of that kind of stuff, it's still your experience. You still get to decide how you're going to show up within that experience, how you're going to craft it. You get to decide if you stay or if you make some changes in your life. We truly do have the power. We truly do have the power to make those decisions. So know your reason, know your why. And if your business has a why, if it has a premise, if you've got that mission statement clearly defined. Before I ever opened my studio, I sat down with my teachers and they all created intention statements. They created intention statements for themselves personally. They created intention statements for the clients that were going to come in, how the experience that they wanted them to have, how they wanted them to be held, how they wanted them to be supported by us as teachers. And they created intention statements for us as a teaching community. What did we as teachers, what were we going to hold? That was something that was straight out of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. And wow, you know, so we started the studio with this deep level of intention and care and purpose, and it transformed how we showed up from day one, because we were connected by something. And we had decided to notice ourselves as individuals, notice ourselves as a teaching community holding space for other people, and notice what we wanted to create as experiences for other people. So it was all intentional. It wasn't arbitrary. We didn't all show up with different ideas as to what we wanted that to be, because that was shared with the community. We got to experience that. So yes, we might have all had different intentions, but we merged it into one statement so that was clear for us. take time off. So this balance that we're talking about between personal and professional life, you've got to take enough time to recharge your boundaries, your batteries, maybe your boundaries too, but definitely your batteries. And so, I follow lots of business people online. I'm a huge fan of Alex Hormozi, Leila Hormozi. And, one of the things that is constantly expressed in those podcasts is, the type of people that they're looking for don't necessarily take the same time off. They're not necessarily taking off, weekends or evenings and that type of thing. They also don't have kids, and they love working, and they love their business, and they want to be really invested in that. And I love that. And I'm very, very inspired by that. And for me, I know that if I don't fill up my own cup, then I can't pour into the cups of the people around me. And I've got lots of cups to pour into. I've got a bunch of teachers. I've got, staff that are helping me with the coaching program. There's students. There's a lot of people's cups to pour into. I have my kids. I've got my husband. I have my own darn cup. So I've got to fill this cup up. And so I say I've got to, but I choose to. I'm not willing to compromise my health and well-being, because if I do that, I compromise part of the foundation that supports everybody else. So you've got to be willing to take off the time to fill up your own cup. If you're not enjoying this process right now, if you're not enjoying the business building process or whatever stage of the business that you're in, take a pause and look around. If you go on vacation for a week and you dread coming back, maybe there's something that needs to shift within the way the business is functioning day to day, so that when you wake up every day, you feel excited about going into work, or you at least feel that this is an alignment for you. Because if you're waking up every day and you're just like, wow, there's a mountain of work to do, I can't ever get it done. There are those memes that come across your social media feed from time to time. And I remember seeing someone post one a while ago, and it's kind of like somebody lying in bed in the middle of the night with their eyes wide open, and it's like, me as an entrepreneur, because I wear this hat and I have all these things that I have to handle. In reality, I can see on the one hand, like, that it's funny, right? It's funny. It's like, yeah, this is the story of an entrepreneur. And my look at that is that the story of an entrepreneur? Is that just the story that we think is supposed to be our lives? Is that just how we think it's supposed to be? I have a different vision for my business. And I think that, in today's day and age, we need to look at, what does success really mean? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got $1 million in the bank. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got, that you get to take off 2 months out of the year. It doesn't necessarily mean anything except for what it means for you. And that's the most important thing. What is success in the business for you? Take off enough time, or refill your cup often, so that you can continue showing up in your business and in your family and for yourself in ways that are important. What are the things that you value? What do you want to experience along the way as you grow your business? What is important for you? And once you have that, and you know that, and you're aware of that, now you can start building that into your business. At the beginning of the year, if you're looking at your full year calendar, have you put on all of your vacation time? Or the ones that you're aware of? Have you put on, any self-care things that you're going to do? First thing I often will do at the beginning of the year is book in all my massage therapy appointments for myself, where I go and I get a massage. That's often what I do, is I go and I book myself in, because that time for me is super valuable. I know that I benefit when I take that hour and a half every month and I go for a massage. And for you, you might have something else that's really valuable. It's a non-negotiable, something that's there. Maybe it's a date night with your partner. Maybe it's you getting to go and spend, a weekend, like 1 weekend a month, doing something special with the kids, whatever it is. But if you don't put that on the calendar, it's never going to happen. Or it's going to be that much harder to squeeze in, because guess what? You haven't scheduled time for yourself. So take the time that's necessary, so that whether or not you ever hit your business goals, and of course, this is setting you up so that you will, but whether or not you ever do, along the way, you're living life the way that you want to. You're living life in a way that feels aligned for you. And then calibrate it. Has the time off that is the filling of the cup still in alignment with my goals? Maybe in the first year of business, I have to take a little bit less time for myself. Am I willing to do that? Am I willing to do what's required? See how all of these questions, they tap into each other. This is a system, a framework that will support you. And the very last thing I have on here is ask for help. Do not try and do your business on your own. Get somebody to come in and help you with the technology. Get somebody to come in and help you with the whatever parts of the service that you're offering. Get somebody to help you in different aspects, or at least be willing to do the training required to learn the skills so that you can be efficient at what it is that you want to do, so that you're not spending hours and hours and hours through your business running yourself dry, running yourself ragged, so that when creation time comes, because as a business owner, you're a creator. You're somebody who's putting something out there into the world. You need to have energy for that. You need to have some creative movement coming through you for that. And if you're tired, if you're depleted, you're not going to be able to show up with the energy that's needed to really allow that creation mode to come through. I often tell people, you can be in consumer mode or creation mode. You can't be in both at the same time. So you're consuming information, scrolling on social media, whatever it is, or you're creating something. You are putting something out there. You are changing a vibration in the world. You're doing something along those lines. The reality of this is that, as we can see in the trends of people, is that when people are exhausted, when they're depleted, they go to those quick hits of dopamine. They're scrolling on social media. They're in consumer mode rather than creation mode. When you switch over to creation mode, when you start to get other people to support you, when you build a team around you, when you start to put all those pieces in place, you don't have to carry everything on your own. When you have a sick day or a down day, or you need somebody else to step in, you've got support. You've got that there. So this is something that will set you up for success. I know I talked a lot more today about business and not necessarily about the balance, although I did bring that in a little bit, but I hope that there are parts of this that really help to serve you. If you're currently feeling overwhelmed in your business, if you're currently feeling like there's a lot of different parts to juggle, I hope that this gives you some support and some framework so that you can take another look at your business, take a step back, get some clarity on how it is that you want it to function, set yourself up for success. If you're looking at starting a business, any kind of business, then maybe this will give you some things to look into, some ways to set yourself up so that you can be successful from day one. And that's really what this is designed to do, is help to give you some tips and tools so that you can be supported and successful in that. So much love to you. Wishing you the most amazing day and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. If you like this, please share, subscribe, send it to a friend, and we'll see you soon.